Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Later on, we'll talk to Peter Blake, great columnist about a few things going on in Colorado. But first, a dear friend of mine who's so very, very off on a few things, former Senator Greg Brophy. Good to see you.
John, it's good to see you too.
All right. So we disagree on an issue,
right,
which is one of the rare things.
You might come back around on this.
I doubt it, because I don't get paid as much as you do to hawk this. Anyway, you're part of an effort called Raise the Bar, what I remarkably call Rig the Bar, and it changes how we can get amendments in front of the people here in Colorado to amend the state constitution, getting them passed. Give us the sales job, and then let's talk about it.
Well, the premise behind Raise the Bar is this. It should be harder to amend the Constitution than it is to change a state law. And there's a lot of great conservatives here in Colorado that support that. John Suthers, the conservative who sued Obama over President Obamacare, took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Senate President Bill Cadman, Mark Hillman, Jerry Sonnenberg, Ray Scott, a whole bunch of really great, well-known conservatives here in Colorado, and a whole bunch of great guys that in your latest fundraising letter you say you revere. Think it should be harder to amend the Constitution than it is to change state law. The Founding Fathers, Madison, Washington, Franklin, Hamilton, and Jay all thought that it should be harder to amend the Constitution than it is to change a law. And they established that for us with our own U.S. Constitution, and they wrote about it in depth in the Federalist Papers. And you say you have reverence for those guys. Why do you disagree with Madison and Hamilton and Jay?
A couple of points. One, you listed off some good conservatives, or what you claim to be good conservatives, but on the other side of this, we've got organizations like the Taxpayers Union and the Tabor Foundation, Colorado Firearms Coalition, John Andrews, Republican groups like the Jefferson County Republicans, including also a lot of people that I sometimes fight with, including Common Cause and unions. And so there's a broad sector of people who want to protect ballot access. Then you say, it should be more difficult to amend the Constitution, and talk about the founders. Founders were first talking about the United States Constitution, which is a whole different animal than any state constitution. But you know what? I'm going to concede something. I agree with you. I think it should be more difficult to amend the state constitution than merely change what's state law, what we call statutes, for people who don't follow the intricacies. I'm fine with that. I think there should be some sort of differentiation between those two. My problem with Raise the Bar is what it in fact does is nearly destroy the ability to amend the Constitution, which is why this came out of the Kill Tabor folks of Al Yates and Dan Ritchie and the Build a Better Colorado coalition. I believe that's really what this is about, making sure that we can't amend our Constitution again.
Au contraire, it is about raising the bar so that a constitutional amendment has a higher standard for passage than a state law. And you said just a second ago that you agree that it should be a higher standard, and that's what we do here. We say to amend the Constitution, you should show the people that you have broad support and achieve 55% for passage. If you would like to make it easier for statutory measures to pass, what do you want to do, lower the bar to 40%?
I'd be happy to
then
lower...
some of your bad ideas might pass.
First of all, you say that in order to amend the Constitution, we should raise the bar. Let me ask you, why aren't you guys meeting your own damn bar? In that you never wrote this proposal so that it would only take effect if you got a supermajority vote of 55. You could have done that pretty easily, but you decided to use the old rules and say 50 plus 1. In other words, govern as I say, don't govern as I do. Why didn't you write it?
You know, on the contrary, John.
And let me a real specific question. Why did you not write it to only take effect if you got a supermajority of 55%?
We checked with our lawyers, and you actually can't do that.
Of course you can.
You cannot. You cannot do that. We checked with our lawyers. You can't stipulate that we won't accept victory unless we get 55%. But we're going to get 55%. And we are going to do that. We're going to probably get closer to 60%.
How much money do you want to put on that?
This is such an easy sale. This is such an easy sale.
Well, go back to this. So you're saying you asked the lawyers that you paid to do this. But you're saying that's the reason why? Of course you could have crafted this. I've talked to lawyers who said you could craft this in a way so that that's how it is implemented. It's not that difficult. Why don't you hold yourself up to the same standard?
again, you know, the votes are all going to be tallied after November 8th, and you know, we're going to get 55 to 56% of the vote because it's easy to.
If you don't get 55%, will you lead the charge to repeal it?
If I can't, it's going to be part of the law. So we could go out and start gathering signatures immediately to attempt to repeal it.
Will you?
And it would take a 50%. No, because I think we need a higher standard.
But if it doesn't meet the standard that you're suggesting all amendments should go, won't you say this is not a valid law because it misses its own spirit? What are you going to do if it passes with 51%?
Have a celebration because I protected the Constitution from out-of-state special interests.
Because
John,
the rich interests that are pushing this want this.
That's something that you said we should do. You said in your latest fundraising letter that we should protect our precious Constitution from out-of-state special interests and wealthy folks. Raising the bar for passage of an amendment does exactly that. So actually, that's what I find so interesting is that you fundraise claiming to want the same thing that Amendment 71 wants. Is every dollar that you raise from your fundraising letter going to be donated to Amendment 71 to protect our precious state Constitution like you said you wanted to do?
71 destroys the Constitution, and it destroys the ability.
It by protecting it?
By protecting it, please. All right, let's keep this civil before we get going. Why this is bad is that it stops ordinary people from being able to put something on the ballot. Maybe wealthy interests could do it, maybe Al Yates and the others. But when you think of the coalition that has come across against this, when was the last time Common Cause and the Independence Institute came together to say something, to be on the same side of a political issue? We wouldn't have Tabor. We wouldn't have Tabor. We wouldn't have term limits. We wouldn't have transparency laws if this were in effect.
Well, we got Tabor in the 90s, and there was a completely different political environment in Colorado in the 1990s. There were 40 Republican members in the Colorado House, 25 senators, and Jon Caldara had hair. But now it's 2016. We're down to 31 members in the House, 18 senators, a different environment. We probably wouldn't get Tabor no matter what now.
But it didn't go through the legislature. It went through the people's citizens' budget.
Here's the other thing that's interesting. In your very own fundraising letter, you say that putting something on the ballot is time-intensive, labor-intensive, and incredibly expensive already. It's already something that only people with a lot of money can do.
I've been able to do it, and we haven't. We've been able to do it.
And you raise money to do that. And some people raise more money to do it than they actually spend getting it done.
All right, so the other part of this that people need to know about is not only does it create a supermajority, so forget the rule of majority rules. 55%.
Supermajority is techally 60%.
So we're a supermajority of 55%. So a lot of things that pass at 50%, 54, and 99% don't pass. But the other part is the collection of signatures, which if you haven't, if anybody says it's too easy to amend the Constitution, it's because either they're very wealthy or they haven't tried. I've tried. It is very difficult. What your proposal does is it requires signatures gathered in each of the 35 districts, 2% of all of them.
Yeah, we believe.
So let me ask you, which by the way has never been done, have you achieved that with this?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. We actually added up all of ours, and we got 75,000 signatures outside of this Denver Metro Boulder complex.
That's not what I asked.
Yeah,
Let me try that again. And did you get 2% valid signatures in each of the 35 districts?
Well, and the Secretary of State is supposed to be the one that validates signatures. Are you going to trust me to validate my own signatures? No, but the answer is yes. If you're going to trust me to validate my own signatures,
you have hired. Hang on a second.
Well, the Secretary of State does the signature validation, and you know that.
So the answer is no.
There's no. We did 75,000 outside the metro area.
I know that, but there are 35 districts. Don't say 30 outside of the metro area.
We got thousands.
It's a simple yes or no.
We got thousands in 6. We got thousands in 7. We got thousands in 1. As a matter of fact, the best Senate district.
Yeah.
Eastern Colorado.
Did you get 2% valid signatures in every district? That is 35 districts. Well, give me a yes or no.
We believe we reached our mark, but the Secretary of State would have to have a system in place to validate that. So I can't say definitively, but we do believe we reached our mark.
So in other words, again, you can't say you've hit the bar you've raised or want to raise, you haven't hired an outside firm to go through those public records and validate that you have 2% valid signatures. Why won't you hire an outside firm to validate this outlandish claim that you've actually raised that many signatures? And you spent almost $1 million to raise this, to get these signatures. It's expensive. Why won't you hire an outside firm and verify what you claim?
See, we believe that it's more important to raise the bar and protect our precious state constitution, and we're spending all of the money that we have left over to educate voters and let them know that John Suthers and Bill Cadman and Wellington Webb and a bunch of great people in Colorado are saying, you know what, enough is enough. We got to raise the bar and protect this Constitution
Great
from
obfuscation.
all of these
great deflection. Let me go back to
out-of-state
it.
special interests.
Let me go back to it. Are you refusing to say that you have 2% valid from every signature?
I'm saying that there's no system to validate the signatures.
Well, stop there. You're saying there's no system. So you can't hire someone to look at those. There's no system. Of course, they're public records. This is your proposal. I think you need to be able to tell people this is a doable scheme, and therefore we've actually done it. You have never been able to say we've done it. You refuse to spend the money to do it.
It's a doable scheme, and that we went all the way to Sterling and Brush and collected signatures, and we got over our mark in that district. We went over our mark in Senate District 7.
Who cares? There are 35 districts, and you have to get over that mark in 35.
And we're tired. The guys from rural Colorado are tired of folks like you getting all of your signatures on the 16th Street Mall and not coming out and having a conversation with us about something that's as permanent as a constitutional amendment. You know how many constitutional amendments have actually been taken off of the ballot? Contested ones? I mean, out of the Constitution? There's been one constitutional amendment repealed that was challenged. One out of 151.
Do you remember the lawsuits that have come after the signature problems with Jon Caldara and Blaha and others as they were trying to get on the ballot? Did they get enough? Did they not get enough? Mm-hmm. Now, they had to get signatures in 7 districts, and it was a legal nightmare. Now you're going to take that legal nightmare and export it to 35 different districts. This is a welfare project for lawyers.
John, you, me, Madison, Hamilton, Jay, we all believe it should be harder to amend the Constitution than it is to change a state law.
That's the United States Constitution, which is very hard.
But you said in your fundraising letter that we should protect our precious state Constitution. That's what 71 does. It protects the precious state Constitution. And are you going to give? Now, are you going to donate? Are you going to donate the money? Are you going to donate the money you raise off your fundraising letter that's supposed to protect the Constitution to us?
No.
You should.
I'll remember that.
You're saying here that you're trying to protect.
Now let's get back
you're trying to protect Coloradans from Colorado's mini Obamacare. You want to know what protects us from that in the future? Passing Amendment 71 makes it that much less likely that Colorado's mini Obamacare would pass in the future.
When I tried to get an anti-Obamacare thing on the ballot, and I just barely did, if this were in place, Amendment, what was it, 60, no, it was 64, I forget the anti-Obamacare one that I put in, which failed at the ballot box, we couldn't have done it under this. Matter of fact, every proposal I have put on the ballot would never go on this. Will you admit that this makes it remarkably difficult to get something on the ballot?
No, it does not.
So do you think this is easy?
I don't say easy. I say it's slightly harder. We're
slightly harder.
We are raising the bar for the passage of a constitutional amendment.
The bar.
No, we're raising the bar. And you are rigging a fundraising letter.
No, I hope we get some money on it. I'd love to talk about it, but we're talking about your proposal to make it difficult, and you put it in your actual wording, to make it difficult. You won't live up to your own.
I believe we did.
You won't do it by 55%, and you believe you got 2%, but will you put your money where your mouth is and do an audit of that and prove it?
I want you to put this money where your mouth is and audit it.
Really?
Because what we're going to do with our money is let the people of Colorado know that it should be harder to amend the Constitution than it is to change a state law.
All right.
And then they will vote for it.
And what's the money behind yours? You've raised $1.6 million.
Right.
At least $500,000, perhaps more, from oil interests who are tired of the anti-fracking initiatives, which there are none on this ballot.
Well, remember, the effort to make it harder to amend the Constitution predates fracking wars. It predates Obamacare.
Where'd you get your money is what I'm asking.
Well, we have donations from a lot of great Americans, but a bunch of people on So if you don't think the dairy farmers are great Americans, I do. They donated $100,000 to us. The Livestock Association donated $20,000 to us. The pork producers donated $20,000 to us. AARP donated $20,000 to us.
What's Al Yates' role in this?
He has none. He doesn't. He's not helping us at all.
Really? Interesting.
Right. Yeah, he
All
won't.
right.
He won't
Take a final word.
He
We're
won't
way
help
past.
us at all. You know what? Almost everybody I've talked to agrees, and I think you even said so in your own fundraising letter. It should be harder to amend the Constitution than it is to change a state law.
And again, I'm going to concede what I started at the beginning. I'm willing to work with you to find a way to differentiate between statutory changes and amendment changes. My allies now, my bizarre allies on the left, are willing to work with you to change the amount of signatures required, maybe find other ways.
Let's establish another fact. Colorado has the lowest signature requirement of any of the 50 states already. So it's already the easiest state in the nation to put an amendment or an initiative on the ballot. So if we lower that anymore, it becomes ridiculous. And I don't know if you want to go down to 45% for passage for one of your bad ideas, but I do think 55%, we're at simple majority now, and if you want a differentiation between a simple majority,
then
I don't know where you go but up.
Hold yourself to the same standard. You're amending.
We will get 55%.
So if you don't get 55%, you'll call for a repeal of it?
Of course not.
What a politician you've become.
No way.
What a hack. All right,
I'm a farmer
thank you
from
much.
Red, Colorado.
We'll be right back.